Imagine, how will you and I remember 2020? We will remember it as the year when wildfires swept across Australia, destroying thousands of homes, killing over 1 billion animals, and wiping out entire species. We will remember it as the year when 176 people tragically lost their lives in the downing of the Ukrainian airline. We will remember it as the year when we witnessed the worst outbreaks of desert locusts in Africa in almost 100 years. When massive earthquakes shook Turkey and Iran, floods ravaged Indonesia, avalanches in Kashmir, and volcanic eruptions in the Philippines. We will remember it as the year of heightened political unrest in the Middle East, Trump's impeachment in the US, and Brexit in Europe. And this was only January. But you and I will likely look back on 2020 as the year of the coronavirus. As we welcomed in the new year, China was already tallying up the toll of those infected. At first, we ignorantly told ourselves, this is the Chinese flu. It's far from home. But as the virus spread like wildfire to over 177 countries in just a few weeks, crippled global economies, infected almost 2 million people, and killed more than 100,000, we too started tallying up the count of those infected and impacted. The death toll is rising, and we are still in April. Imagine if we don't stop the coronavirus, it will stop us. It will infect more people, ravage more livelihoods, and destroy many more lives. But you and I can change that. We can slow down the virus together. We can save lives, but we must act now. If we don't work together to flatten the curve, the number of those infected will only continue to rise, and so will the number of dead. Imagine once again having the freedom to leave your home whenever you wished. Imagine being able to take a walk with your mother without the fear of her falling ill. Imagine living in a senior residence not meaning a death sentence. Imagine children playing in the streets and in neighborhood playgrounds once again. Imagine taking a walk in the park with your coworkers. Imagine office buildings bustling with workers and city streets with people. Imagine Italians singing once again in city squares and Spaniards dancing in city streets. Imagine the city of lights glowing once again in the night sky. Imagine the city that never sleeps, awakening from these darkest nights. Imagine fresh air and blue skies over the city of angels. Imagine Torontonians dancing once again to the beats of caravana drums and cafes thriving along city streets in Montreal. Imagine a new and a better normal. Imagine a human family that has awakened to a renewed global responsibility to helping the most vulnerable, to addressing the climate crisis, to cleaner air and safer communities because of safer practices and healthier choices. Imagine if you and I tried hard enough, we can beat the coronavirus. But it means we have to make some very hard choices like they have in New Zealand to contain and maybe even eliminate the virus altogether. Imagine you and I doing whatever it takes to curb unnecessary trips to hospital so that healthcare providers can look after those who are truly sick. Imagine fewer trips to the grocery store so that those who are serving us will face less risk to exposure. Imagine doing whatever we can to protect those working hard to keep the supply chains moving and the sick healing. Today, I ask you to take the 2020 lockdown challenge. Each one of us vows to remain at home for 20 days and to challenge 20 of our family and friends in our city and on our social networks to also take the challenge. You can start by first getting prepared to get what you need and then hunker down and stay home. Unless you're providing or undertaking an essential service, you need to observe the lockdown so that together we can flatten the curve, decrease the infection rate, and save lives. I ask you to care enough to make this difference, to save lives and to beat the virus. Please share this video, tag 20 people, and then stay home for 20 days so that over the next few weeks, we can see fewer infections and hopefully fewer deaths. Imagine how you and I will remember 2020. We can choose to fight for a better world because you and I cared enough to make the difference. So take the 2020 challenge and let's beat this virus and save lives. Will you accept?